You ever wondered why some companies just have a revolving door of employees and why some managers just never have to fire anyone? It's like the employees just quit. Weird, right? I get it. I'm wondering the same thing. And today I'm going to roll out an entire controversial playbook that I call the 10 simple ways managers push employees to quit. But here's the twist. These tactics may seem like shortcuts, but they come with massive risk. And it's not just legal troubles, but the real danger of destroying your company's culture and reputation at that. Because if you're a leader, you need to know what not to do, or you'll lose your best people and you'll end up worse than you started. Trust me on this. Firing somebody is hard, I get it. And for most, it's very uncomfortable. And it gets really messy at that because it'll also open you up to lawsuits if not done carefully. So some managers, what do? They try to get employees to quit on their own to dodge that bullet. But there's a legal concept called constructive discharge. And it's basically you create an environment that's so hostile that no reasonable person would want to stay. Right? Who would want to stay in something like that? And ultimately, you can be sued because the bar is high and there's tactics that actually toe the line on what is right and what's not. And the crazy part, it's sometimes not even about performance, but it's about who they want to hire instead. Like the college roommate's son who's not qualified, but he knows the manager and therefore wants to get a job. This makes these tactics even more toxic. So let's break down the actual how to get your employees to quit playbook. And if you see some of these that are in your business, you might want to check yourself because you're teetering a fine line where a lawsuit could be right around the corner. Number one, cutting pay. Although maybe legal in most places, imagine waking up one day and your paycheck is just slashed. Yes, could be legal, but definitely takes a hit to the morale of the employee, which will ultimately affect the workplace. Number two, nickel and diming PTO, which is paid time off. This is when you're docking vacation or sick time for every little absence, coming in late, leaving early, doctor's visits. This tells your team that you ultimately don't give a shit about them and their life outside of work. Number three, micromanagement madness. It's where you're a leader and you stop by your employee's workstation multiple times a day, switching priorities, jacking them around, and ultimately driving them nuts, literally driving them insane where they don't even want to work for you anymore. Number four, contradictory instructions, telling them to do something and then switching it, have them do something else, then telling them to do something else, and ultimately then when they call you out, you just blame it on stress. Realistically, it's not stress, it's your problem to begin with. Number five, ignoring bullies. This is turning a blind eye to toxic people in the work environment and ultimately letting them run amok around others or in the workplace. You're not setting a standard, what you're doing is lowering the standard, and those employees are not going to want to stick around, they're going to want to leave fast. Number six, rewarding the brown noser or playing favorites it is. And that's where somebody brown noses the leader all day long. You suck it up. And guess what? Everybody else on the team is witnessing it and they see that you're paying attention to them, but you're probably bypassing somebody else that's working a lot harder and a lot smarter. And guess what? This will poison your team faster than almost anything else. Number seven, changing the rules. It's basically where you set the standards up front, they get hired, and then you switch things on the back end, like telecommuting or travel or dress code or anything else that falls outside of this. Essentially a bait and switch, and it's gonna piss people off. Number eight, which is one of my favorites and actually one that I talk about in my consulting sessions all the time, and it's being a slacker boss. You got to show up and lead because other people are watching, and it's showing up late, ignoring messages, working on your personal work in the office, having people at the office do personal things for you, all of this stuff. You got to set a higher standard, and none of that does. So ultimately, employees want a leader who supports them, not one who ultimately abandons them. Number nine, stalking personal social media. Give employees a break. Let them have their personal time. Ultimately, if they do something online that affects the business, yes, that's a questionable action. But if you're stalking their profiles every day and calling them in after hours and asking them about things that evade their personal life, yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. You're infringing and impeding on their personal life, hence why it's called personal life. Number 10, constant video calls and constant meetings. Meetings and video calls are essential, but too many of them become redundant, a waste of time, and will actually start being counterintuitive where they piss people off. So if somebody's on the camera all day or going in the meetings all day, they're actually not getting work done. They're just talking about a lot of things. That's wrong. So people need breathing room, not an always on spotlight. So here's the kicker. This isn't just going to kick out some employees like the problem cases. It's also going to affect your A players and your best case scenarios, because these are the best players, the people that ultimately want to do the work, want to be at the job and contribute real value. They're going to leave as well. Ignoring these issues isn't just bad for morale, it's actually catastrophic for productivity. And in fact, worldwide, ignoring bullying and toxic management behaviors costs not billions, trillions in loss every year to businesses. So what's the alternative? Real leadership means having these tough conversations head on, not delaying them, and actually finding bad employees and firing them the right way. Hire slow, fire fast. That's one of my mottos. And you do it with clarity, respect, and of course, legal teams love this, document the process. Because if you don't protect your culture by rooting out this toxicity, then you're ultimately enabling it. Remember, driving your team to quit, that's not leadership. It's actually called incompetence, and it's sabotage at that. And by the way, it's costing you more than you think. So it's simple. If you recognize any one of these behaviors in your leadership style or in your business, ultimately just stop what you're doing. Simple, right? And you got to fix it before you lose more talent, waste more money, or ultimately worse, get dragged into a lawsuit. And here's a little secret many leaders don't know. Best teams don't just tolerate hard days. They actually thrive in an environment where they know that their leader actually has their back. So you have to ask yourself a simple question. Are you the kind of leader that your best people want to stay for? So the biggest takeaway of this is review these 10 items, look at your leadership style, and ultimately assess your business. Maybe some other leaders that are in your business if it's not you. Are you doing any of the things listed here, or are they doing any of the things listed here? Or even more so, do you constantly have a rotation of employees that you don't know why they keep leaving? This is probably the single-handed answer that will give you an answer to that question. Ultimately, remember, the right leadership saves careers, companies, and ultimately saves your sanity.